Hi everybody, Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench. Once again, back with another beginner's video. This is part 10, I believe, or the 10th part in the series. And today I'm going to talk to you about scribing. Now, scribing is something that scares a lot of people to death. There's lots and lots of different tools, different ways of doing it, different tools you can use to guide your lines, different tools you can actually use to scribe. And today we're going to look at all of it. Very briefly, we're not going to go too deep because you can look at some of the other videos and see scribing being done there. But it's not something you should be scared of. With the right tools and the right sort of forethought and attitude and everything, it's great. It's a really, really satisfying thing to do. Now, the main thing to remember is when you are scribing, wherever there is filler, wherever there is glue, wherever you've got super glue, whatever, be very, very careful. For example, if I were, I've got these scrap parts here. If I were joining these two parts together, say there's two flat parts I'm joining together, and there's a panel line where that join is, I would tend to glue that together, and then scribe the panel line about 1 millimeter either side of it. If you go back to my Vulcan builds, you'll see I did that on the nose, where the nose section joins the fuselage. I moved forward about 1 millimeter. The reason being is if you scribe where a panel line is, it's very, very difficult to get it look nice. So if you scribe where a glue line is, because basically you've got glue joining together softened plastic or whatever, or resin as a joint, anything, there's going to be gaps in it, it's going to vary in width, you'll never get a really nice scribe line, which is why I hate it when you get manufacturers that actually have panels that go together on a panel line. I would rather, if you've got like a rear and a front section fuselage, I would rather they had the joints, you could just sand it flat and not try and rescribe the panel line. So that's something to remember if you are doing that, like with that Airfix 172nd Vulcan, the late one. If you are doing that, when you join the nose and the rear section together, just go slightly off, especially with that soft plastic as well. So here today we're going to be using the Airfix Hellcat wings for extended wings, and the sections here, which I'm not going to be using on the model. And we're also going to use this one here, and I think this one will be a lot better to show you because the plastic's nicer to scribe. It's the Revell, this is a Revell Heinkel 111 wing. And we use this for everything, as you know. So basically scribing is all about, you can see you've got panel lines on the kit, and you can see them here. You can see there's a deep one there, and these are actually what they call recessed panel lines. So they're recessed into the material. Raised panel lines are the same thing, like you get on a lot of the old Revell kits, like the old Revell Monogram 148 B17 or the B29 or whatever. They have raised panel lines, and if you want to rescribe them, you just basically sand them away and rescribe the lines. More about that later. If you're doing a kit like this, and you want to just rescribe, add scribes, whatever, then you just follow what I'm doing now. Something I always recommend, if say I had to sand the living daylights out of this leading edge, rather than get rid of the scribed line and then come back and rescribe it, I would actually, what I call prescribe, and I would make the scribed line deeper so that when I sand, the line doesn't disappear. So I've always got a line there to work with. Because if we just take like this basic Tamiya scriber, this is probably the most basic and most used scriber on the planet. If you've got a line there already, it's easy to come in with your scriber and follow the old line and make it deeper rather than try and scribe a new one. So as you can see there, I'm not doing this, I'm not pushing in, I'm just holding the scriber at the back, letting the weight of the scriber do its job, perhaps putting a slight amount of pressure on, and just pull it back through and it won't go wrong. If I push it down hard, I run the risk of it coming out of the line. Now it's not doing it in this occasion. But if you push it down hard, you get things like this. You don't really want to be doing that because it's not good, and you also hear it as you drag it. that squeaky noise is leaving like a chattery noise. It's exactly what a vinyl record does. It's leaving a groove at the bottom. So just do light pressure and just follow along. So if you're rescribing where the paint's a bit thick or whatever, or you've had some, you've done some work or whatever, then that's the thing to remember. If you're going across a joint that's been glued, maybe that area glue it with super glue. It's a lot easier to scribe super glue than it is where it's been glued. Or if you have to use liquid cement, leave it for a couple of weeks if you can, and then try and scribe it then when all the solvents have come out. So as far as basic scribing tools go, as I say, this is the basic one. This is actually called an alpha P cutter. You can see on the actual end there it's alpha. Tamiya don't make it. It's got Tamiya scriber in it. It's actually an alpha P cutter, and it's designed for cutting plastic sheet, because what you can do, you can come along, let me just grab an ordinary rule, you can come along here. In fact, I'll do it on a piece of plastic which I haven't prepared for. Let me grab a piece of plastic. Okay, so here's a piece here. Let's get a thicker piece. So I want to cut that off. I use the scriber. Just scribe a couple of lines in it, and then I can snap it off. And that's the best way to cut in plastic card, is using an actual scriber or one of these Tamiya alpha P cutters. Okay, so that's the basic tool. Then there's many others. And there's just a few of them, and I've got some more over here as well. So you can fill your boots on what you want. Now, all of this is available from Premium Hobbies. Now, I haven't looked today to see what's in stock, but basically Premium Hobbies does high Q parts, he does MRP parts, and he does these, which are, I keep forgetting the name, Fun Tech. Very strange name. But we'll go through them all, and we'll look at all of them and the difference in all of them. So, basically, this one here, the Tamiya one, you can see the end of it is a V section. Okay, so when it cuts, when you scribe, it's actually cutting a V into the plastic. So the deeper you go, the wider it gets. You can see here, if I take this panel, see this panel line here, this dark line here. Okay, what I'll do, I'll just scribe halfway along. And I'm going quite deep. So you can see there now, that part where I've just done is a lot wider than that part there. That's because I've gone in, and what's happening there, it's getting deeper and deeper and wider and wider. Now the beauty of the Fun Tech, these are actually square. This one here is 0.2 wide. I'm not sure if it's the right width for that. I think it probably will be actually. Maybe I'll change it for the 0.15, but they actually come in 0.1, 0.15, 0.2 and 0.25 widths, and then there's also the normal one there. Oops, you'll be careful dropping these because they're silicon carbide and they're very brittle. But the end, so not silicon carbide, they're carbide. But the end is like a V, so that's like a normal scriber. So let's get the 0.15 one instead of the 0.2. And this handle comes with this handle. You don't need to get this handle, you can just use a pin vise. But this is the proper Fun Tech handle. So I've got a 0.15 scriber here. And as I say, the beauty of these, they're actually square on the end. So when I scribe, if I do the same thing here, I'm getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And you can see the layer. If you try and do it vertically, it chatters, it gives a rough finish. If I lay it down, it's a lot better. But you can see I can just keep going and keep going, and the line isn't getting any wider. You can see on there, if I scrape that bit of swarf out, the line isn't getting any wider. From there to there, it's no wider, as you can see. So that is the beauty of these Fun Techs. Now, I think Ed over at Premium Hobbies is having trouble getting these in. Getting a lot of stuff from Asia is difficult at the moment, as I'm sure you all know. But they are really worth having. They are worth their weight in gold. Because as I say, if you're rescribing a model and just trying to clean the panel line out where you've sanded it or something, you know you're not going to make the line any wider. It'll just stay consistent, as you can see there. So Very, very nice indeed. But as I say, you have to be very, very careful with them. If you remember when I first got them, there's one here which is 0.1. This is the thinnest one. You can probably just make out the end on there how thick it is. I literally put it down and broke it. So I've had to regrind that on my lathe. But yeah, they are beautiful, beautiful tools. They're really, really nice. The V1 is the same as any other scriber, and obviously when you use it, oops, it's come out of the track there, the line will get wider and wider and wider because it's a V, obviously. Okay, but still very useful nonetheless. So that's the Fun Tech. Then we have here the high Q part ones. This is a 0.08 and a 0.25, and these are, let's use the 08. These are very nice because they're easy to hold and everything. Not easy to get out of the packet though. And then, so that's the 0.08, and you've got a carbide tip on the end, or it might be tool steel, I'm not sure. I can't remember now. But this again is the V section. Okay, so it's going to get wider as you go, but they're just going to sit in the groove like so and scribe, and as you can hear, it's cutting nicely, and it's a very, very narrow 0.08. It's tiny, it's very, very narrow, so it's great for like 70-second stuff and like that, 70-second scale and stuff like that. You can see it cuts very, very nicely. Personally, I prefer the Fun Tech over these, but they are very nice nonetheless. So that's the high Q. They do all the different ones. Have a look on Premium Hobbies. They do all the different widths, but I've got two there, 0.08 and 0.25, as you can see. Moving on here, something you can use is a simple needle for scribing, and all you can do is just put the needle in the groove and scribe. Okay, but the MRP scriber, MRP do one, which is a needle, and this is a very nice tool indeed. Again, the MRP ones are lovely, and this is extremely sharp. Okay, and it's very, very nice. As I say, you get in the panel line and scribe, but also they're very good for going around circles. They're great for following. If you have a line you want to follow, so say I want to follow this line in here, it's easy to hold this and follow that line. Okay, just to clean it out, maybe slightly deepen it, remove some paint, whatever. And as you can see, it's easy to go around the corner because it's a pit, it's a point, it doesn't have any direction. Whereas if I use this one, I have to go along and then steer it around like that, and you can see I've already gone off, and then come like that and then steer around there, and I've already come out again. So you can see it's very, very easy to do it with this because it just follows the line so easily. Okay, so I would thoroughly recommend this to anyone. They are lovely. They're also very good. I'll come along to templates in a minute, so they're very good for that as well. I'll put that away so I don't damage the point. Then with the MRP ones, we have the wedge, and then we have the narrow. So the wedge is very much like this one. Okay, as you can see, it's black on the end, and you can see it has this very fine point, and that is again great for following existing lines. And again, it's a pull action. It's coming out of there because I went off previously. If you do go off, I'm going to show you how to repair. Okay, so you can see it's great for following the existing lines, adding your own lines, you know, whatever. As I say, you might just use a simple rule, come along here, and if you want to extend that line there, we lay it in, push the rule up to it, lay the tool in, push the rule up, come back to there, just keep checking, and then we can follow. And the beauty of this, it's very narrow, so the line remains straight. The problem with this one is it's so thick that if I try to do the same here, if I pick that line up and I put the rule over, then I come along and I straighten the tool up, it doesn't stay in line. It has in that case because the bloody camera's on. But the beauty of these is they're so narrow that when you do use a template, it doesn't matter if it's thick. Whereas with this one, because it's so thick, the point is actually, you know, over that way because you're up against the rule. So the thing to do is use them on an angle, whatever. And then here you've got the narrow, which is like a very, very thin blade. In fact, I'll measure it for you. It looks like it's about 0.15 to me. 0.16. That's what happens when you get engineer's eyes. So there we go. So we can just come along into any line on there and follow it along. So as I say, what I've shown you so far are the basic tools you can get for scribing. As far as if you're on a budget and you only want to buy one, then this is a pretty good way to go. Or any one of these three. Any one of these three MRP scribers. They are wonderful. They really are nice. So if we move along now to different guides and stuff. One other thing I want to say, when you are scribing, if you can do all your scribing before you assemble the model. So if you're building something like a monogram 1/48 B17, scribe the upper wing, scribe the lower wing, don't glue them together, because then you're working like this on a flat base. So if you do want to use a rule, you can just come along with a rule, lay it on there and do your scribing, okay? If you're doing a monogram Revell B26 and the plastic is green, what you can do is just sand away the panel lines and it will leave a line in the plastic and it will show you where to go. But if you want to go mega accurate, you might want to get drawings and, you know, put the panel lines in a different place. If you sand away the raised panel lines, generally it's silver plastic like the B17 is made of, the B17G, or the green plastic like the B26 is made of. I think they're still green. When you sand away the panel lines, you will see where the old panel line was, and you can just come along then. In fact, maybe I'll go and get a kit from the raised panel line and I'll do it in a minute and show you. But what we've got here basically is a wing section, and if we want to scribe it, as I say, always try and do it on the base, because as you can see, it is much easier to do that, okay, than it is to do this. So if you've already built your model, you're trying to do the fuselage and you've got the wings in the way and everything, you know, do the fuselage halves separately. Don't do them together, and don't go right over the top and right around the bottom. Then you can do those after they're put together. But all the sides of the fin, all the sides of the cockpit, around the wing roots and everything, it's much easier to do without the wings in place. It's much easier to do it on flat parts, down on the bench, so like that. So if you're doing a B52 or a Revell 1/72 B52, do all the panels before you put the kit together. Get a film on, get some music going, and just fill your boots. Okay, so that's my advice there. Right, different guides. There are basically loads of different things you can use. These are all my stainless steel ones. Okay, these are available mainly, these are ET model, but you get Hasegawa ones, and have a look at scribing guides. Some of them have these serrated edges on them, and that's for riveting, so you can come along and hold that in place, grab a point, and then you can come along here and just push the point into every gap, just like so, and you'll get it's just moved into the panel line, but you'll get an evenly, let's do it over here, you'll get an evenly spaced, nice straight rivet pattern. Okay, so if you don't want to use a wheel, that's one way of doing it, and you can see there we've got a nice straight line. I'm not sure if you can see, we've got a straight line of rivets there. Okay, and then you've got all the different pitches. You've got finer there, coarse there, and then you got here, it's like a saw blade. I'm not sure if you're supposed to use it like a saw or if it's for riveting. I think it's for riveting. And then you can also see inside you've got all the shapes. You've got the ovals here, we've got the rectangles there, we've got squares over here, and this side's got all the sizes marked on them. We've got squares there, we've got circles, different ovals there, smaller circles, triangles, teardrops, lines, semicircles, everything you want. And then this one, you can see this one's got the circles and you've got the 4 points there. So that's if you want to put rivets that go around, say, a panel like that. You can do that. So all very, very handy. And this is actually an eraser mask. So this is what they use when they're doing art, when they're doing drawing. They will put this on and rub lines out to get a nice sharp edge. Again, very, very handy. And if you just want a straight line, you can put that around a fuselage. If you've got a fuselage to do, you can put that around the fuselage and scribe. So, okay, right, just a little break there. So using these guides, the tool you need is either this, which is just a pin, or better still, get one of these, the needle scriber. This is the MRP Mr. Scriber needle. Okay, thoroughly recommend this tool. It's awesome. Keep the tools in their packets to avoid chipping the ends or breaking them, whatever, because they are quite easy to break. So if we do, say, a simple circle, okay, so we've got this one here, and that's an 11mm diameter. Okay, in fact, let's go a bit smaller. Let's go down to here. So all I can do is hold this in place. The other thing you can do with this is grab yourself a piece of masking tape, unprepared again. Grab a piece of masking tape, stick it on there, okay, and then you can put your template down, because it's obviously going into precise precision. Here I'm just putting it down anywhere willy-nilly. Put it down and then put it down like that, and that'll hold it in place. And then all you're doing, okay, without too much pressure, don't go push it in, and you're not trying to gouge a great hole. All you're doing is going around the circle and always pushing towards the outside. Okay, now this is quite difficult. You don't have to do it all in one. You can do it in sections like I am here. The first bit is always the most difficult. You can see now it's going around a lot easier because it's already got a groove to follow. Okay, so going like that. And we can lift the tape up, have a look. Yeah, we'll go a bit deeper than that, I think. I'm not really pushing the tool in, I'm just a little bit of pressure on it, much like you would write with a ballpoint pen. And as you can see there, we have a nicely scribed circle. As you can see, just there. Okay, you can even probably go round it. It'll probably follow itself around because this tool is so nice. Okay, so there we go, that's that done. We could also come along and do over here, we could perhaps put in another fuel filler port. Just like so. And the thing is to do is condition your mind to just keep pushing out to the template. You're not trying to follow the curve, you're just pushing out and going around. So lift that up. You can see there. What I need to do is get a pencil or something, don't I, so that you can see what we've done. There we go. We go down here. So you can see now that circle. There we go. Sorry guys, this video is a bit tatty. It's not my best, but I'm doing the best I can. So there we go. That you can see that circle I've scribed there. You can see that port over there. Okay, so it's dead easy. If you've got lots to do and you're worried about making a mistake, what I would suggest, say I had to do a load of 8mm scribed circles. What I would do is with the tape is just cover up the others, just like so, and then you can't go wrong, and then you can move it around and you know you're not going to use the wrong one, because there's nothing worse than finding out you've just done it all wrong. And again, with the pointed tool, if you wanted to open up these panels and make them a bit deeper, you can. It's easy to follow around there. Alright, so that's a doddle as well. But these things are absolutely brilliant because you can wrap around areas. You can, you've got the cord of the wing here. If we wanted to put one in the front there, we can wrap that around, tape it down, and just hold it down. And this is where it's good to have the model on the bench. We could come along there and go around that circle. Just like so. Okay, so we've got a circle there on the leading edge now. When it comes to rescribing lines, now say I had, like I say I had to sand the hell out of this this leading edge. What I would do is come along with the, I don't know, let's use the MRP wedge. What I would do, rather than sand it away, I would come along and I would re-scribe that panel line. Let's use the narrow, this isn't finding it. I would rescribe that panel line deeper, as you can see here. Okay, I'm purposely pushing too hard there to get it over and done with. And then so I've got to sand it away, sanding away this leading edge. You can see here now I've lost the panel line here, it's gone, but I've still got that one there, and I can still come along and follow it and go deeper should I want to. Okay, so that's what I call overscribing, like subscribing. And that way you can have the panel line still there, especially if it's a complex shape, you know, like that on that Airfix wing. If I had to sand around here, rescribe it, re-rivet it, and then sand it, rivet it again, rather than sand it all the way and then try and pick up the detail, because it's so much easier if you're going to do some scribing here or some rivets. It's so much easier to push the tool in here and make those details deeper, especially if you missed the bloody rivet, like you idiot. Make those details deeper, and then when you sand over the top, you can see the rivets are still there, you haven't lost them. So that's something you need to do with the whole of this aircraft, because the plastic's got such a rough finish. But yeah, so that's what I call prescribing. And whether you're doing your model fresh, or you're rescribing a raised panel line kit, or if it's just a normal model just like this one, you don't need to do any scribing. Prescribe that before you sand, and that way you won't lose all the detail. When it comes to leading edges, it's very difficult. Whatever tool you use, it's very difficult to follow the line around. And quite often on kits, like you can see here, there, the panel lines don't ever quite line up. You can see there, they don't quite line up. Okay? So the thing to do there is to fill the lines in with super glue, or sand them away, and then get yourself a saw. This is an ASK saw. If you're in the UK, you can get these from Hannants. Absolutely brilliant little tool. And what I use a saw to replace the panel on the leading edge. And all you do is just gently stroke the saw as you turn the wing. So obviously you do this when the wing's assembled. Stroke the saw, turn the wing, and you can see now we've got a panel line there, which is lovely. It's not lined up with the other one, but you can see it's lined up. It's not, it hasn't got a step in it. So like with this one here that's quite good, we can pick up the line with the saw, just follow it around. And this is a show winner. A lot of people don't bother rescribing the lines on the leading edge, so when they've sanded it, you end up with the panel line sort of coming over and stopping sort of 4 millimeters apart. So it's always worth remembering that, and it's easy to do. Where they don't line up, like I say here, it sounds like it's not even glued together here. I can just come along there with the saw, use the fine side, and just push. Yeah, it's not glued together. Push the saw up over the top, and that will join those two lines up, as you can see there. Okay, so that's how you do that. We can also use tape Now if you're doing a curved surface, obviously these things will go around. One of them, this one here, has a straight edge, so if I wanted to scribe around a curved surface like a, you know, like on a fuselage or something, I could wrap that around and scribe. Or you can get these tapes. You used to be able to get a Dymo tape. I'm not sure if you can still get it. This is Dymo tape, and it's not the tape you get for a Dymo that prints. These are the old ones that used to emboss the tape. But you can now buy these scribing guide bands, and they're basically the same thing. They're just like Dymo tape. And there's a 3mm there, and there's a 6mm there, and they're very, very handy. And again, they're available from Premium Hobbies. But you basically get a bit of the tape. You take it off the reel, okay, cut it off like that, alright, and then if you want to economize, you can double the length of your reel. Now you can come along with the rule. Where's my rule gone? Here somewhere. I'll use this edge here. There it is, there's my rule. You can come along with a rule, just like so, and just gently cut through the tape. Or if you don't want to use a rule, cut through it in a squiggly line so that you know that one side's straight and one side isn't. And then all you do with this stuff is you peel the backing off, lay it down where you want to scribe your line, okay, and then come along with your scriber and just push the scriber up to the edge of the tape and draw back. You can see that tape move then, which is a pain. This is really handy for like going over fuselages, or if you've got an undulating surface or something. The tape's great because it will just stay there. The reason that's moving is because this is all covered in dust because I've been sanding. Another thing to remember when you are scribing, if you're using tape, any form of tape or whatever, wash your model, because if there's any form of dust, you can see all the dust on the back of there. It won't stick and it will move on you. Wash your model, let it dry, because the sanding dust gets everywhere. It's on my hands, it's on the board, it's all over here, it's everywhere. This probably won't even stick down a second time. No, see, it's so covered in dust it won't even stick down the second time. So if you are scribing your model and you're sanding and stuff, wash it, get it all clean, nice and dry before you start using the tape, and then you'll use the same piece of tape 3 or 4 times. It'll be absolutely fine. So that's the various tapes. So I think really as a basic starter, I've shown you what you can use, I've shown you what's available, and I've given you the basics. If you want to see more about scribing, go back to my Airfix Vulcan build, and there's a lot of scribing in that. I did a lot of sanding, a lot of rescribing, because there was a lot of sink marks in that in the kit. Go back and have a look at that and you'll see a lot of different techniques that I've used in there. As I say, if you are new to the hobby and you want to have a go at some scribing, get a cheap kit to start on. Don't get don't get your border models lank out and do your first bit of scribing on it, because you're going to damage something, I can assure you. Oh, that's what I have to show you on here. If you go wrong, right, so let's just say I've come along here and I want to scribe. I should have done this first of all, shouldn't I, because it's easy to see. Let's just say I've come along here and I'm scribing this line, and oops, oh no, I've gone off, I've made a right mess. Or if I wanted to come up to this line here I'm going to mark now, and I accidentally went over, oh no, and that's a great big gouge as well. All you do is you get some super glue and fill it in. So once again, unprepared, I'll get some of my black thin super glue, like so, put it in a Pringles lid, just like so, get a glue applicator, and then just put the super glue in the groove, obviously being more careful around those rivets than I'm being. Okay, you can go right up to the edge there, come across here, same there, I'm going to fill those in. Right. Grab some accelerator. I use Vital Bond in an aerosol can. Spray that on there. Give that a couple of minutes to harden off, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I'm using 2 coarser stick. You wouldn't use a coarse this stick a stick this coarse in reality. But I'm able now just to sand this glue away from here. Let's get something finer. And you can sand that away just like so. Oh, this is not working at all. It's all too worn out. There we go. And we can see as we're sanding, the paint is remaining around the mistaken groove. We can just keep going, just like so. And that is our line. As you can hear, I run my fingernail across there. If I grab a point, you can hear as I go across this one, yeah, go across there is nothing. And then all you've got to do is using your scriber, just clean up, and then when you prime, that'll be invisible. You won't see that gouge. So, but you shouldn't end up with gouges like that anyway, because you shouldn't be pushing that hard. The worst you should have is something like that, a little scratch like that, rather than that great big gouge. You shouldn't be pushing that hard. So there we are, guys. That's the basics. I don't know how long this has been. That's the basics. What I should do really, I should get a cheap model and make myself what Phil Flory calls a buster. So I've got an aircraft fuselage or something. It's much easier to show you more techniques then. As I say, if you want to get more into it and you want to see more detailed stuff, go back, look at my Vulcan build from last year, I think it was, and have a look on there, and you'll see there I do a lot of scribing, and you'll see me do it all, I think. So thank you for watching. Any questions, comments, put them down below. And I'll see you all soon for the next one. I think we'll have to cover riveting as well, won't we? So I'll see you soon. Bye for now.